This update is brought to you by TheTexasBoys.com. Please check out TheTexasBoys.com if you're looking for some organic coffee, honey, or if you're local here in the Northeast Texas area, if you're looking for a local beef pickup, I think we have about a half a cow that's ready now. So go on over there or shoot us an email at CountryTexasBoys.com. And now I want to jump right into the story. I have two reports here. First one comes from the Tennessee Lookout. Tennessee bill would expand weed killer manufacturers' legal immunity. You know, there's been lots of talk about legal immunity and vaccines and how they're harming people. Well, according to this article, Bayer, the owner of Monsanto's Roundup, a weed killer, could avoid lawsuit from consumers sickened by products. And in the last couple years, there's been several multi-billion-dollar awards for people that have contracted cancer by using this product. So the science is settled on that. A Republican-backed bill that passed Tennessee's Senate Judiciary Committee Monday would give pesticide and herbicide companies such as Bayer, the owner of Roundup, broader protection from lawsuits. Senate Bill 527, sponsored by Senator John Stevens of Huntington, who's a Republican, would provide legal immunity to pesticide manufacturers as long as their federally approved label doesn't warn of a disease. Roundup's Environmental Protection Agency label doesn't disclose that their product could cause cancer, meaning under this potential law, the company would be sued for causing the disease. The measure passed 6-2 Monday with Republican support after farmers and the Tennessee Farm Bureau testified in favor of the bill. The House version of the bill by Republican Representative Rusty Grills of New Bern is slated to be heard by the House Judiciary Committee Wednesday. New Bern, that's North Carolina. North Carolina is also promoting this bill, as well as Missouri. We'll get into that. And this is all being vastly supported by the Republicans. And with all this talk of making America healthy again and taking fluoride out of the water, and RFK Jr. kind of vacillating and flip-flopping on the measles, and a new current push for the MMR vaccine and how good and effective, how safe and effective it is. Kevin Hensley, a lobbyist for the Tennessee Farm Bureau, told lawmakers the bill would avert only cases involving product labels. Notice all the sophistry that's in here. Approved by the EPA. He contended companies don't control what goes on the label. Isn't that convenient? Stevens agreed, saying manufacturers don't have an option on a label's wording and can't defend themselves against claims. They're put into an impossible situation on litigation costs, if nothing else, Stevens said. Bayer has also hired the Bivens, a lobbying group whose political action committee has given Stevens $12,000 in the past 5 years, the fifth most of any donor, according to the Lookout's database tracking political spending. I will link this article down below. Smith County farmer George McDonald. And then now they're going to trot out. Now they're going to trot out Old McDonald. George McDonald testified that pesticides from modern chemistry, better living through science, allow farmers to till the ground less and control erosion caused by heavy rain. So we've been having all these unusual heavy rains that are creating this ground erosion, and the way we combat that is with cancer-causing chemicals. He also said farmers have to undergo training to apply pesticides and herbicides according to the EPA labels. McDonald acknowledged he and supporters of the bill are being accused of stripping away people's legal rights, but he added, if we do not have these pesticides, taking them away from farmers will be like taking tractors away from farmers. Opponents of the bill countered that it will remove people's constitutional rights to a jury trial when they're diagnosed with deadly forms of cancer such as non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I currently know 3 personal friends of mine with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, severe cases of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. A Georgia jury last week ordered Germany-based Bayer, the parent company of Monsanto, to pay almost $2.1 billion to a man claimed he contracted the disease from using the company's Roundup weed killer. I believe that was, I think he was a groundskeeper for a golf course. And he just used this stuff for like 20 years. Similar legislation had been rejected in Iowa, Missouri, Idaho, Wyoming, and Mississippi, yet Bayer Monsanto hasn't pulled products from shelves. Now here, it talks about similar legislation being rejected in Missouri. So I want to go over here to the next article. And this one is from flatlandkc.org. Bayer pushes Roundup protection bill in Missouri, or as people in Missouri would say, Missouri, or the surrounding areas and whatnot. But I digress. On the outskirts of the metro, and even more so in rural areas, drivers in Missouri pass billboards displaying generic farm scenes and big orange text urging viewers to take weeds, not farming. The campaign and an associated website are part of a collaboration involving more than 80 agricultural groups across the country and Bayer, a pharmaceutical and biotech company. Bayer bought the agrochemical company Monsanto in 2018. And if you want a little bit more information, if you want to jump down the rabbit hole and research IB Farben and World War II Germany and all that good stuff, there's lots of very interesting and usual suspects. Well, Bayer got the band back together again by purchasing Monsanto, changing the name. Bayer, which has offices in Kansas City and St. Louis, has paid out billions in settlements against the claims, which are ongoing. Now it seeks legislative relief from the lawsuits. Bayer and the members of the Modern Ag Alliance are pushing for the Missouri legislature to pass House Bill 2763 and codify that farm chemical labeling by the EPA is sufficient to satisfy warning label requirements. And it maintains plausible deniability. We can't control the labels, so therefore we can't be held accountable for our cancerous causing substance, even though we make billions and billions of dollars a year doing that. With only a couple days left in Missouri's legislation session, advocates for and against the bill are anxious to see if it will be pushed through. A long history. According to Modern Ag Alliance, 91% of soybean acres and more than half of corn in Missouri rely on glyphosate, the chemical in Roundup. Since its creation in the 1970s, Roundup has become a key tool for farmers. Not just a key tool for farmers, but I would say the predominant tool for farmers. Proponents of the bill argue that EPA, which was created in part to regulate the use of pesticides, labeling requirements and evaluation are the ultimate standard. We've all learned that the EPA just upholds the ultimate standard. But don't worry, there's great hopium, and all of these bureaucrats have been shuffled around the deck, relabeled, rebranded, and we're going to make America healthy again. But opponents question the EPA's ability to fairly and adequately make such judgments. Some see a conflict of interest between the agency and the farm chemical industry. Others question the validity of the research the EPA evaluated, especially after the Monsanto papers revealed the company had ghost-written studies touting the safety of Roundup. And I only need to point you to baby powder. We see this over and over again. And we clearly see that our government and all those involved clearly have no interest in keeping us safe and healthy. Most of these cases seek justice based on failure to warn claims for folks who have developed non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a type of cancer. These claims allege that the company knew the product was dangerous to consumers and it did not inform them of the risk. That's clearly been demonstrated in these lawsuits and these multi-billion-dollar judgments. The Missouri bill, sponsored by Representative Dane Deal, a Republican, from Butler would protect companies like Bayer from failure to warn claims so long as the company followed labeling regulations and registration of the EPA. This is how these monolithic megacorporations and these bureaucratic agencies work hand in hand to scratch each other's back and to hold neither accountable for all of their sophistry, chicanery, and the end result is the ground gets poisoned, the food gets poisoned, and the people get cancer and die. Jess Christensen, Bayer's head of crop science communications, said the alliance and the legislation are about protecting access to important farming tools. The point of the legislation is to create that transparency and science-based labeling requirements to make sure that those really do hold up, that we cannot be held accountable for failure to warn if we're labeling according to regulatory bodies' reviews, Christensen said. Christensen said the pesticide industry is held to rigorous testing standards, and on average it takes 12 years for a product to move from discovery to the shelves. And it should. We should be going through all these safety assessments, she said. The issue is that what we're being asked to do is to label a product with something that it doesn't do. These products do not cause cancer. We should not be warning towards that. When California tried to impose a cancer warning label on Roundup under Prop 65, the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled in favor of Bayer. Once again, we see the judiciary branch working hand in glove with these bureaucratic agencies and these transnational monolithic megacorporations. In the opinion of Amy Collignon-Gunn, an injury and malpractice attorney at Simon Law Firm in St. Louis, which has worked with clients in Roundup litigation, the decision in California shows that there's still intense disagreement on the subject, besides of just the basic facts and observations of people developing terrible, terrible cancer by being exposed to this product. But don't worry, we're taking fluoride out of the water and red dye 40, nothing to see here. The debate is exactly why Collignon-Gunn believes juries in court should continue to decide these issues. That's what lawsuits and juries are all about, to answer these debates, to make a decision based on the evidence from both sides, she said. Can folks still sue Bayer? Collignon-Gunn, oh man. At least it's not hyphenated, right? Testified against the bill, in part acting in her role as president of the Missouri Association of Trial Attorneys. To her and others who testified in opposition, the bill would infringe on Seventh Amendment rights. The right to trial by jury should remain unviolated. The language in the bill is not specific to Bayer or to glyphosate products, but it's known around the State House that the company is pushing the legislation. Roundup is also the most widely held herbicide and known to be the subject of many lawsuits. They, Bayer, kind of hide behind that to a certain extent by saying it's not just about us. That to me makes it worse because it's about many, many other companies that will have immunity for products we don't even know about yet. Christensen at Bayer disagrees. Currently, with the litigation industry, which has been pretty opportunistic, they've anchored to this failure to warn concept, Christensen said. It's just been a bit of a rebuttal of the language, the sophistry going around that we're trying to block all lawsuits, but that's just not true. Christensen said folks can still seek justice through the Seventh Amendment under product failure and warranty claims. Collignon-Gunn said these claims would be much more difficult to prove and don't hit at the core of the problem for plaintiffs. The heart of the liability against Bayer Santo is that they knew of the propensity of Roundup to cause cancer and hid that risk from its consumers. Will Bayer stop making Roundup? Some Missourians fear that without this bill, Bayer will pull Roundup from the market and farmers would be without a tool that is heavily integrated into their business. This fear is evident from Modern Ag Alliance billboards and from farmer testimonies in favor of the bill. It's unlikely that this one bill in Missouri would be the tipping point for Bayer, a global company worth $52 billion in revenue. But it's no secret that the company has taken a hit from the lawsuits and seen an associated decline in stock prices. The costs that we're incurring from settlements and legal fees are not sustainable. Oh, okay, now we know. And it's forcing us to look at options we never thought we would have to look at. In May of 2021, Bayer launched a 5-point plan to address the Roundup lawsuits, many of which the company inherited from Monsanto. The plan included initiatives to manage current and future cases, reformulate lawn and garden formulas purely to minimize litigation risk, not because of safety concerns, according to the website, and to seek a positive ruling from the Supreme Court. I wonder how much that costs. We're being very candid. Christensen said about the stakes at Bayer, we have a $16 billion reserve that we've set aside just for settlements, and we've spent about $10 billion for a product that has never had any linkages to cancer. This is really, really unsustainable. So I just wanted to point this out to you. Y'all are going to see this push in your states. I know they're pushing it here in Texas. Tennessee's pushing it. North Carolina's pushing it. Now it appears that Missouri's pushing it, and it's something to be aware of. And if you do talk to your representatives, to do what you can to get them to say no to this garbage, and so much for MAHA and fluoride and all that other good stuff. I'm just not high on the hopium, y'all. We just the beast marches on, and they spray us from the skies, and then they spray our crops and everything. We got to eat something, y'all. And well, I hope y'all are having a great day. I hope you appreciate this. I will link the articles down below. And like I said, please support us over at TheTexasBoys.com. We have a great new Tallow skincare deodorant line that is just awesome, and y'all should really check it out. And I hope y'all have a blessed day.